Let me introduce myself. I'm Frank, a bulldog with a prime seat in life. And I mean that quite literally too, because I get the best seat on the couch. You know, right in that sunspot, stretched out as if I'm king of the world. I live with Henry, my human. Nice guy. Bit clueless really, but hey, I love him anyway. He's single if you're wondering, which is shocking, considering the whole I'm 35 and own a bulldog charm he's got going on. But he's mine, all mine. And our little Brooklyn apartment is our fortress. Home isn't just about four walls, it's a whole vibe. And that vibe is called Henry. I mean, sure, the walls give me a roof and all, but let's be real. What's a roof without someone who knows how to open a can of food? Ah, mornings. The time of day when I stretch out on Henry's feet as he complains about having to go to work. He'll mumble something about insurance claims, whatever those are, while I supervise his every move. You know, I've come to realize that mornings are the best, not because I actually like getting up. Don't get me wrong, I could sleep until noon, but because that's when I know he's there. The smell of burnt toast, the jangle of keys, and that familiar tap on my nose as he says, "You're in charge, Frank." As if, look, pal, I'd rather sleep through any intruders, but Henry doesn't need to know that. He thinks he's got a whole fortress going, and I let him believe it. The truth? Home isn't really about having a roof or walls. Home's just wherever Henry is. Once Henry's out the door, I do what any self-respecting bulldog would do. Nap. But between you and me, the apartment feels a bit empty once he's gone. Sure, it's all warm and comfy, but it's like eating a cookie without the chocolate chips. You know what I mean? It's still good, but it's missing something. So, I wait. I curl up in my sunspot, keep an ear out for strange noises, and check the door every now and then. My nose is on high alert for any whiff of Henry's cologne. Sometimes, I pretend I don't care when he leaves. But if I'm being honest, I can't help it. He's my human. If he's not here, it's like the whole place goes dark, even with the sun streaming through the windows. The whole home is where the heart is thing. Turns out that's not just a cliche, it's a fact. Because my heart happens to be following a guy who wears the same 5 sweaters on repeat and forgets where he puts his keys. Every now and then someone else will knock on the door. If it's the mailman, I've got a bark reserved just for him. It's not that I don't like the guy, it's just that, well, he's always carrying stuff, and I don't trust anyone who brings things into my home that aren't food. But Henry's got friends who come over sometimes too, and they all smell interesting. Not in a bad way, just in that I can't identify your scent kind of way. Henry's friends like to pet me, and I let them because, hey, belly rubs are belly rubs. But there's always that feeling that they're just visitors, like wallpaper that's not quite sticking. It's nice while they're here, but they don't really stay. Only Henry feels like he's glued to the place, like he belongs. I remember the first time one of his friends suggested he get another dog to keep me company. I almost choked on my chew toy. No offense to other dogs, but I've got it pretty sweet being the only one around here, and I intend to keep it that way. When Henry finally comes home, it's like the world goes from black and white to color. He'll open the door, and I'll do my best. I was totally awake and alert the whole time act. I get up, stretch a little, and make my way over, pretending to be casual about it. But who am I kidding? My stubby tail goes wild, and I can't help but give him a big old bulldog grin. Henry gets it. He knows he's the center of my world, even if I play it cool most of the time. He'll scratch my ears and tell me about his day, as if I'm his personal therapist. Sometimes he's tired, sometimes he's excited, but every time, he's home. And that's what matters. This place might be just another Brooklyn apartment, but with Henry, it's my whole world. After Henry's home and we've had dinner, he has his human food, I have my kibble, though he'll toss me a piece or two of whatever he's eating if I give him the "I'm totally starving" look. We usually end up on the couch. And let me tell you, that couch is magic. It's the one place in the world that feels perfect no matter what. Henry will sit down, exhausted, and I'll nuzzle up beside him, acting like I own the place, because let's be honest, I do. Sometimes he watches TV and laughs at shows I don't understand, but most of the time, he just sits there, petting me absent-mindedly. I think he finds peace in those moments, just like I do. It's funny, really. I've got a whole apartment filled with stuff. My toys, my bed, food, treats. But none of it matters as much as this old couch and Henry beside me. If we were somewhere else, even a tent in the middle of nowhere, I think I'd feel at home as long as he was there. Dogs understand these things better than humans, I think. Home isn't about stuff, it's about love. And this couch, well, it's a monument to that. Weekends are the best. Henry doesn't go to work, which means I get full access to him all day. Sometimes he'll take me to the park, where I get to run around, chase a ball, or pretend to chase it before giving up halfway, and sniff every tree like it's my duty. And Henry? He just laughs, telling me how I'm the laziest bulldog in Brooklyn. But hey, I like to take it easy. Why waste energy when you don't have to? The park is great, but it's Henry's laugh that makes it perfect. I think he loves our time there just as much as I do. He'll sit on a bench, watch me, and sometimes throw the ball, and I can see the stress melting off him, like he's finally breathing easy. Sometimes he even tells me his plans and dreams, like he's got 100 ideas on how to make life better. I don't understand it all, but I know he's got a big heart, and somehow he thinks he's the one taking care of me. When night falls and Henry's tucked in, I consider it my duty to watch over him. Now, I'm not the most intimidating figure. I'm short, a bit on the round side, and more likely to lick an intruder than scare him off. But I'm all he's got, so I take the job seriously. I lie at the foot of his bed, my ears perked up, ready to bark if anything feels off. In reality, though, most of the time I'm half asleep, dreaming of treats and sunny spots. There's this comfort in knowing he's there, snoring softly while I pretend to be on guard. And while I might not be the most effective watchdog, I'm good at making him feel safe. Home isn't just a place to sleep. It's a place where you know you're looked after, even if the one looking after you has 4 legs and a tendency to drool. If there's one thing I've learned as a dog, it's that humans overcomplicate everything. They think they need big houses, fancy stuff, new gadgets. But all they really need is someone to come home to. Someone who makes them feel like they're enough, just as they are. And for Henry, I think that's me. Sometimes I wonder if he knows how much he means to me. Like if he really understands that no matter where we are, as long as he's there, I'm home. The world outside can be loud and busy, full of new smells and strange people. But inside, where it's just us two, that's the only place that feels truly right. I wish I could tell him that in words, but since I can't, I'll just keep giving him my big bulldog grin and curling up beside him, making sure he never feels alone. One day, Henry left the door open a crack by accident. Now, I'm not exactly the adventurous type, but the open door was calling to me like a fresh piece of steak left on the counter. So, I waddled my way over, stuck my nose out, and took in the biggest whiff of freedom I'd ever smelled. The hallway stretched out before me, mysterious, thrilling, and completely terrifying. I thought about making a run for it, going out there and sniffing every inch of the world, finally living the life of a free bulldog. But then, a thought hit me. Where would I go? What if I wandered too far and couldn't find my way back to Henry? Sure, freedom smelled amazing, but the scent of Henry was better. So I turned around, headed back inside, and nudged the door closed with my nose. You can call it cowardice if you want, but to me, it felt more like loyalty. Besides, who'd make sure Henry didn't burn his toast every morning if I wasn't there? I'm practically his life coach. There are days when Henry comes home looking exhausted. He'll plop down on the couch, sigh heavily, and I know that something's weighing on him. Maybe work didn't go well, or maybe life's just feeling a little too big and overwhelming. I'm not sure. He doesn't explain all the details to me, but I can sense it. On those days, I make sure to stay close, extra close. I'll put my head on his lap, wag my tail a little, and look up at him with my best "I'm here for you" eyes. I don't have any words to comfort him, but sometimes silence speaks louder than any advice ever could. I think he gets it too. His hand rests on my head, and he just sits there, breathing slowly. It's like I'm grounding him somehow, reminding him that no matter how tough things get, he's got me. There are days when we don't need walls or a roof to feel safe, just each other. And if I have to be his therapist, his loyal companion, his personal cheerleader, well, that's a job I'm happy to have. One evening, Henry went out with friends and stayed out late. I was alone for hours, staring at the clock, feeling the emptiness of the apartment pressing in on me. Now, I can handle being alone. I'm a bulldog with dignity after all, but the longer he was gone, the more the place felt hollow. Like the walls themselves were just props, and the only real thing here was missing. When Henry finally walked in, smelling faintly of pizza and laughter, I felt this huge relief wash over me. I jumped up, pretending I was only mildly interested in his return, but my heart was racing. Seeing him there, a bit unsteady on his feet and laughing at something one of his friends had said, reminded me that it didn't matter how many hours I'd waited. All that mattered was that he was back. Because home isn't walls. It's the heartbeat of the person you love, the one you'd wait for, no matter how long it took. Some of my favorite moments with Henry are the quiet ones. The mornings when he's still half asleep and stumbles around the kitchen, grumbling about how he needs coffee. Or the lazy Sunday afternoons when we just sit by the window, watching the world go by. I think he worries too much about life, about where he's going, what he's doing. But I wish he could see things the way I do. In my eyes, he's already got everything he needs right here. Sure, our place might be small and the furniture might be old, but when I'm lying there next to him, everything feels right. To me, he's the entire universe, the reason this little apartment feels like the safest place in the world. I don't know if he knows that, but every wag of my tail, every snuggle on the couch, every look I give him is my way of saying, "You're my home." One night, as Henry was sleeping and I was curled up at his feet, it finally hit me. I realized that if we ever had to leave this apartment, I wouldn't care. We could move to the biggest house or the tiniest shack, and it wouldn't make a difference. Because home isn't a place, it's a feeling, a warmth, a sense of belonging. And for me, that feeling lives inside one guy who always smells faintly of cologne and coffee, and who grumbles every morning as he gets ready for work. I realized that it doesn't matter where we are, as long as we're together. Home isn't walls or furniture. It's the people who fill the space with love. As I lay there, my eyes growing heavy, I thought about everything I'd learned in my time with Henry. We might be just a dog and a man in a little Brooklyn apartment, but together, we're a family. I know he sees me as just a bulldog, but I also know he senses that I'm more than that. I'm his partner, his friend, and his reminder that life doesn't have to be complicated to be good. I stretched out, taking up as much of the bed as I dared, and sighed contentedly. I felt the warmth of his foot tucked up against my back, a small, gentle reminder that he was right there beside me. If he ever knew how much it meant to me, well, he'd probably laugh, call me silly and rub my head in that way that makes me melt. As I drifted off to sleep, I had one last thought. I realized that no matter where life takes us, no matter where we end up, I'll always feel at home as long as I have Henry by my side. Because at the end of the day, it's not about the roof over our heads or the walls around us. It's about the love that fills the space. And that's all the home I'll ever need.